Maria's chat box. We're doing something very, very exciting today, as you can hear. We are at Station 22, our local fire station. They are going out on a call right now, but we were able to talk to a bunch of them today in the kitchen, in their workout room, and actually see the fire station. And wow. We had great discussions with them. We found out a little bit about the people, the guys, also about the workload they have and how we can help them as people of the village for when they have to come call for us, and what things that we can do to help them out. So I hope you enjoy the meeting the people, seeing the inside, because I sure did. So thanks again. Sean,
Yes.
I want to thank you so much for showing me part of the station. And I heard that this is used quite a bit because the people, the guys, the gals here have time during the day for an hour workout.
Absolutely.
And you have this at their disposal. How many usually are in here? I mean, their hours rotate and shift so much, there's never more than one or two in here? Or?
Well, we have 13 people assigned to this station, but it's a very, very busy station. So at any given time, there might be nobody in the station or all 13 at the same time. But in conjunction with this workout room we have here, they make great use of the outside, whether it's inside our apparatus bay or actually outside in the environment, but they take advantage of every square inch they can at the station because PT is very important for us for longevity in our job, for being able to respond and do our job effectively. So physical fitness is a very big priority for us. At this station, it might be 10 minutes at a time. Maybe you get 10 minutes in, get a call, come back, do another 10 minutes, in addition to the cooking, the cleaning, all the regular station duties as well.
Well, when you said that this is a very busy station, that's kind of an understatement. From what I understand, this station is the busiest in Orange County.
It is one of the busiest in Orange County and Orange County Fire Authority. It's tradition. It's what's called the Big House. That's what's on our shirts.
Yeah.
And we kind of take pride in being a busy house with a truck, 2 engines, and a battalion chief here right now. So yeah, they take a lot of pride in being Orange County Fire Authority's Big House, Station 22.
I would say. And again, when I was talking to some of the guys, they said that, this Derek drives the truck and other, I drive the engine, and I'm like, I don't think I even know the difference between engines and trucks. If I saw them, I would say, oh yeah, for sure, that's an engine. But the other thing is that because you're so active in our community, and we're so thankful for that, that we can, at least I can, and I'm sure others can too, is that even no matter what time of the day or night it is, there's a fire truck going by because you can hear the rumbling, and then you see the lights. But there's no sirens, that's so nice, but we get the feel for it. So I'm sure that because you don't take fire engines in there usually, it's a fire truck, right?
Into the world?
Into the village.
We do. So the engines are what we traditionally see on the street. They're a little bit shorter,
Yes.
Have a big hose bed in the back. More geared towards water and hose. The trucks, especially around here, are what we call tiller-driven apparatus. So the big ones with the ladders, a person in the back steering the tail end of the truck around.
Yeah.
So you probably see both. At this particular station, the 2 engines are the ones that have the firefighter paramedics. So odds are for medical aid, they're trying to get one of the firefighter paramedic units there. However, all of our firefighters are EMTs, so the truck is involved as well sometimes.
Are you getting called? Anyway, that's another thing that EMTs and paramedics, is there a big difference, and is there a difference, or how does that all work, and where's the training that you need for that?
Well, EMT basic is what's required to become a firefighter here. So all the firefighters you see have that. And a lot of us now are paramedics as well. And that involves about 3 months of schoolwork at one of our local paramedic accredited colleges. And then there's a period of time where you're actually in hospital doing clinicals, and then you go out for field ride-outs for about 2.5 months. So there's a lot of training that goes into that, and that's what we call advanced life support. So that's when you see the IVs, the monitor, the medications, all of that is administered by paramedics. And we're proud to have a paramedic in every single station in Orange County Fire Authority.
So you'd have maybe one paramedic, but then everybody else is trained on EMT?
Well, actually, at this particular station on the engines, there's 2 paramedics minimum, and then there's 2 BLS people minimum. Now, that being said, somebody could be working here an extra day from another assignment, so you could end up with 4 paramedics on the engine that day, but the minimum here for an ALS unit, advanced life support, is 2 paramedics. So, and we're firefighter paramedics.
Right. Well, and when you started saying about that you have a certain amount of time that you're in the hospital doing some of this stuff, this is a silly question, but I'll ask it anyway. Have you ever found someone that said, I think I'd rather be in the hospital doing stuff like that. They come or become a doctor instead of, or is there such a, to me there would be such a rush with being a firefighter. I mean, the idea of, and my ex brother-in-law was a fire chief in Vegas, and my sister would always say that they're calm and cool during these tremendous. And then at home, if his daughter fell and scrubbed her knee, he would go all to pieces. Is that real? Does that happen where you're cool on the job and at home you're not?
Well, it is a different environment. Here we have a whole team behind us. We do have the luxury of getting the call notes come up on the screen, the time to get to the call, etc. So there is some, we call it mental preparation and basically gathering our plans before we get there. Versus if you're at home and a loved one has an accident right in front of you, it happens right there. We don't have all of our gear and equipment, our big team to turn around to, so it's natural to have things affect you differently when it happens at home.
One thing I think I talked to you about this, but I told you when I first talked to you on the phone was the fact, I said, you guys come so fast and you know where you're going. I don't understand that. I said, I lived in the village for 2 years before I dared take a walk because I thought, I'll never find my way home. Yep. And I said, how do you guys do it? And you said, we don't use GPS.
Well, we have the luxury of both. So
yes.
Years ago, a firefighter that worked here actually created hand-drawn maps of the entire village, including, for example, maybe the address pings us to a driveway where you park your car, but the best access for us and our gurneys is possibly a different driveway. So all those little nuances that go in the village were captured by the firefighter who drew these up for us. So we've taken those hand-drawn maps and incorporated them into our computer-aided dispatching system. So we have the best of both worlds, but those maps, they're gold,
yeah,
and we're so thankful to have them. I remember my very first day that I was assigned here years ago, they handed me that book, and that made all the difference. So yeah, we take advantage of experience, history, and then combine that with technology.
Well, again, because of the fact you got to get there as quickly as possible. And I mean, I go to pick up somebody someplace, and even if they told me the cul-de-sac, it isn't still that easy to find. You turn the cul-de-sac and you still can't find them. Yep. And it's like, you got to get there. So I was just amazed that long ago somebody took the time to do that, and they're still usable today. That is amazing. And
there's enough experience at this station that there's certain engineers are the ones that drive. If you just tell them the unit number, they'll get you to the front door. Because they've been here for so long, they've seen so much, and they can get us there every time. So it's great to, again, tap into the experience as well. Yeah, that brings me to another point, that a lot of them have been here a long time. Because this is the busiest station in Orange County, or one of the biggest, and you spend most of that time in the village. And we're old and we're cranky, and we owe it on and have pains in every area. And it takes a certain individual to stay in this station house to know who they're dealing with. The fact that the patience they have to have and the understanding they have to have, that's unique, isn't it? It is, in one sense, just due to the volume of calls that the station runs. You definitely don't want to be one with a newborn at home. Wake up.
That's not going to happen.
But flashing back to my time here, and I told my wife this, my greatest honor was serving the citizens of Laguna Woods because I got to meet World War II veterans, spouses of World War II veterans, and when we could get the patient stabilized and have a conversation, I would always ask, tell me about yourself. Because every story I heard was the makings for a movie. It was unbelievable. So to me, it was a privilege to hear those stories and capture those moments and have a glimpse into the life that they lived before the village. So a lot of respect pours out from our crews who serve
Right.
here as well.
Well, since you're not on the trucks going into the village anymore, I'm gonna have to talk to your guys, because that's one of the things that I do on my show, is talk to the people in the village that have got a story to tell.
Absolutely.
And it's just like that, those World War II vets and so on. I mean, the people that I've interviewed are just phenomenal. And they think it's nothing, because of course it's their life, and then they isn't all that special. I said, are you kidding?
Oh,
It is. So I wanted to have them tell me who I need to call and talk to that they've met. I tell that to everybody I meet anymore. If they know somebody told me yesterday actually at this luncheon that there's somebody that lives here in the village that used to skeet shoot with Marlon Brando.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, oh, I'd love to meet her. It's a woman too. But I'd love to meet them and just talk about how in the world did you ever happen to do that?
Oh yeah.
But there's so many of those kinds of people in here, and like you said, they're inspiring because they've lived this long and they've got, again, a story to tell. So I'm glad that you realized the importance of that and taken advantage of it. Should we take a little walk into
We're gonna take a little break. I actually have to check in. They did dispatch
Sure.
me to that fire, so I have
Okay,
to make
check
contact
that out
with them.
and then we'll go to maybe the kitchen or something.
Perfect.
The thing about when you said they have to be, this is part of their day, that they have to do these many calls and do shopping and get ready for feed 13 people. And you have to go because what if you're in the checkout stand?
We have to go.
And you just leave it there and say, sorry guys, you're gonna have to put it back on the shelf.
Yeah, I've got a great relationship with the manager there because we shop their furniture every day. So they know, like, if we get a call, they'll take our cars and put it in the back in the fridge or the freezer area, and then we'll come back, grab it, and now we can just go straight to the checkout. But there's no way around it.
Well, no, because if you're gonna call, you're gonna call. What's for dinner? What's the meal tonight?
Derek, what are you cooking today, buddy?
Are you surprised?
We're doing pasta.
Pasta.
Are you Derek Dahl?
Oh yeah.
I talked to you on the phone.
That's right. It's nice to finally meet
How's
you.
your little bambino?
He's doing great.
Oh.
Yeah, he's
You remember
3.
CJ?
He's-
Well, he's only talked
I
to me.
do.
Okay.
Once seeing, you'll never forget me, of course, but talking. But yeah, I only got to talk to him a little bit, and then I had to call.
Yeah.
So, I mean, does the wife find out that you do the cooking, so she expects you to cook at home too?
Oh yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
I have to
good.
cook at home too. So.
Derek doesn't even have a kitchen in his house right now.
No, I don't actually.
He's remodeling his house all by himself.
I started 2 years ago, so not that long.
He's not doing much cooking, I don't think.
But you know, that leads me to another thing about firemen, as well as pilots, I think, I've heard. That because you have 2 on and 4 off, that you have lots of hobbies and do things like that. Build things in the garage or remodel or whatever. Is that true?
I think it depends on generation.
He said, yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. I feel like the older generation, that was definitely something that. Greg, come sit down and join us, brother.
I'm camera shy.
Oh,
It's
for
okay.
gosh
The
sakes.
cameras aren't rolling right
No.
now.
Do you see any lights? Only those. Have a seat.
Greg's been in the fire service twice as long as I have, so he's
you been
got
at
way
this
more
station?
stuff to say than I do.
No, not for that long. No.
How long have you been at this
Just
one?
same time he got here.
So you've been here a while.
No, 2 months.
And there's no old timers here?
Only on the truck. You only see old timers here at this station on the truck, just because.
Because they know how to get where they need to go.
Well, that too. But the station is exceptionally busy,
Yes.
so it
Well-
tends to wear people out a little bit.
The reason I'm here is because I live in the village. And I live on a street where the trucks go by, the engines go by all day long. So we want to say thank you, first of all, because we are so grateful. You are there all the time. But that being said, we must wear out your welcome, because how patient can you be to be in this station forever and a day, knowing you're gonna go visit some of these old cranky people?
I'd say 99% of them are not really that cranky. The crankier ones are us.
Oh,
At the station, not on
you
the
woke
calls.
me. You woke me. You know what Sean just said too is that he used to work here on the trucks and stuff, and he said that one of the best things was meeting people like World War II vets or wives of war. I mean, he said the stories that they would tell us once they were okay and settled down. He said it was priceless, and I said that's why I do the show, just because I interview people in the village that have got those wonderful lives, and I wasn't being nasty to you today. Say, you know, you're so young, you haven't had this
No, I get it.
long life.
Yeah, in
But-
perspective, somebody who's been in 3 wars and lived through the
Right.
Depression and stuff, yeah.
But
just
think
get
of it,
started.
in 20 years, the stories you're going to have to tell about the places that you've been,
Yeah.
the jobs that you've had, you know, the calls that you've had to go on, that are just mind-blowing. But while we have some time, we can sit here and then they can throw in anything.
Sure.
About the training that's necessary, how it's changed. You know, 40 years ago, you know, people went to Golden West College and got a lot of their training. Now I don't know if they even do that anymore. Now they go to Santo Domingo, or, you know, you went into El Camino and Inglewood, I believe.
Right.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about what more is expected. You're not just putting out fires.
Well, it's not only that we're not just putting out fires, it's that the fires have changed. So it changed from legacy fuels, like this table is made out of wood, to now everything is now modern fuels. It's a byproduct of a, you know, oil. Everything's plastic or synthetic. So when that burns, it burns with the intensity of like a liquid fire, a liquid petroleum or some type of gas fire. So the amount of heat that is released much quicker than it would be with a legacy, like a wood table will burn slowly,
Right.
versus a plastic table is going to burn quickly. Maybe it's the same amount of heat, but it's the speed at which that heat is released that changes the dynamics of our fires.
Right.
So we're seeing what is called flashover when the room goes fully involved in fire. It happens within 3 to 5 minutes, where in the past, with these legacy fuels, when, you know, our grandfathers were fighting fires, that would take 15 to 20 minutes. So that's changing, and it's making our job more and more dangerous.
Right.
It's the fuels, it's what is the couches and the
Yeah.
curtains and everything is made out of synthetics.
Well, let me ask you again, if to know then, because you have these different levels of fires, if you would, that when you get a call and you go somewhere, is there anything that you can smell or see to know what you're going to be dealing with? If it's going to be one of those that's going to go 3 to 5 minutes, or if it's how do you know that before you go into the building or into the structure that this is going to go up, because it's nothing but this, you know, stuff made of oil and plastic.
We don't beforehand, but it's pretty much assumed that if you're buying something from Target or Costco or any big box store, it's going to be from that modern fuels. So everything that we're sitting on, these cushions, everything's all plastic, right? So it's all petrochemicals. So unless somebody has their house from the 1950s with the cotton drapes and, you know, the original wool fabric, like, it's going to be a modern fire. It's
So
gonna burn
then
quick.
modern fire would be most everything that's happening now.
Exactly.
And so there's different ways that you attack that, and you know, to no. Same
No,
way?
it's the same, pretty much the same. Yeah, it's
Okay.
just that we're going to be aggressive on ventilation, so that's where we're going to open up a hole in the roof to get that, allow an avenue for that heat to come out. So that way it doesn't, when you, basically it's like popping the top of a soda top, like when you pop a can, it lets those gases out, so now it's going to draw in the cooler air from the bottom as we enter, and it's going to lift up that smoke so we can see, and it increases survivability for anybody that's inside.
Wow. Well, you have to think like really, really fast. Does that come in your training, like where you have to make those kinds of decisions really fast, and just so that it becomes just part of who you are, that you can make split decisions?
Yeah,
Probably more experience.
You old-timer,
More
yeah.
experience in the training, but I mean the training gives you some basic fundamentals, but
It's still hands-on then.
yeah, I mean you learn a lot, and so you'll have a guy who's your senior hose, you'll call it, and they'll try to guide you and train you and keep you safe, right? And teach you by doing, right?
Right.
So you have their perspective, and they're kind of guiding you in terms of what the tactics are going to be. Because you really don't know as a new guy. You're still kind of like
Right.
new. You were taught some things in the academy, but there's a lot in your brain, right?
Yeah.
You haven't seen much, so your experience is very limited, and so you're going to rely on your senior firefighter, your senior captain, depending who's inside with you, right? But after a while, yeah, it kind of comes like intuitive. You kind of understand like what you see when you walk in. You can see how the conditions are. You know, this is really bad or this is okay, right? If it's really bad, then we got to be a little more conservative in some ways, and a little more aggressive in others, because you don't get onto it quick enough. It gets going way faster with this material we're dealing with, right? All the new stuff, like you said, it's all plastics. It's all synthetic. It's all made out of hydrocarbons, and those things burn a lot quicker, a lot hotter. Like the wools and natural materials, they don't burn that well. Cotton, it doesn't burn that well. Remember the old couches,
Yeah,
the nice old couches?
Oh, yeah.
Their
There's a
stuffing was
little
made
hole
out
in
of,
them, but
it was all
that's it.
natural fibers in the
Exactly.
stuffing too. Now it's just foam and
Well,
synthetics.
and think about the fact that, you know, learn by doing and so on, and that's great, and that's, you learn by experience, so that you have someone there, you're a newbie, but you've got somebody there that's very, you know, seasoned, and so they can tell you exactly, and you have to do it, boom, boom, boom. But, and in that sense, how many newbies do you usually have? Do you just have one or two? You don't have a bunch, and you have more?
We're in a different time right now.
Yeah.
Our department's very young right now.
We're going through a transition.
Very young.
Because we didn't, during the Great Recession of 2008 to 2012, we didn't hire very much. So we had this generational, almost not a generation, but a several-year gap where we weren't hiring or people weren't retiring. So now we're trying to play catch-up. So we're actually hiring between 150 and 200 new recruits every year. Which in the past, it was like, when we got hired, it was like 30 was a big academy or 20 was a big academy.
Wow.
And we
Now we're
do
at the 50.
maybe 20 a year, 20 to 40 a year. And now we're hiring, you know, almost 10 times that. And so the problem is that we have a lot of the older generations retiring, and they're taking that experience with them as they go out
Yeah.
the door. And then the newer guys like myself, we're now stepping up into that leadership position, but we don't have the same experience that they had from back in the early 90s.
Well, and that's when I was talking to you. It was probably during that time that I remember, went to a library in Irvine, which there's a fire station right on the corner.
On
And
Walnut.
yes, exactly. And there was people lined up because there was a short. Well, everybody wanted to be a fireman, and they were lined up to get on and couldn't get hired because they were, you know. So look at the difference in the times is what's happened in that time. It's how you didn't have enough, and now there's a shortage of it.
What year was
because
that?
Probably 93, 4, 5, something on that.
Yeah.
Middle of the 90s. That I just remember that because it was just thing. Anybody that had just finished their training at Golden West or wherever they had gone, that was the thing: is get on there. You'll be standing in line and wanting to get
We
hired.
had like 10,000 people apply for the job when I was applying for it back in the early, or like 2004 or so. 10,000 people were applying for that academy, and now the last one was, what were the numbers? They're off.
2000.
So the
1600.
interest is not there either. And I think there's a lot of factors involved with that. Culturally, we're in a different culture now.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I mean that's the other.
There's a lot
thing
more
that-
value placed on services, the service industry. That's not really hands-on. Like we're a very hands-on
Yeah.
service industry, but
Well, and then for me, it's the disrespect that's been shown to, you know, first responders, policemen, whatever it is, and that takes its toll as far as why, you know, they're getting such a bad rep. People don't want to go into it because they think nobody's going to be respected. What is just the saddest thing ever, because you guys do the best job, and same with the police.
we try.
What would we do without you? And then for people to diss you like that, it drives me insane. So
The other sad part is, I don't want to get political with this, but pay and benefits hasn't really kept up with the times. We're in a time period where you can make as much money working in and out than you can here.
and we can't even get people to work it in and out. I don't understand what's happened to the.
Not that drastic, but it's not that far
No.
off. I
No.
mean, the reality is, and that we're in interesting times right now. I don't want to dwell on that, but it's
No,
just
but
it's
the work
too
ethic,
bad.
I don't even know if we have a work ethic anymore in this country, which is again very political, but it does,
Yeah.
everywhere you go, they're hiring. and nobody wants to work.
Yeah.
And I don't even understand that. I mean, somebody's feeding them, and it's probably you and me and our taxes, you know, and that just becomes another issue. But it is a sad and a tragedy that people that we should and need to respect, because we're so grateful for what you do. I mean, you put your lives on the line every time you get on one of those engines and trucks.
And that's the reality of it. Is I think a lot of there's a lot of public sentiment, a lot of public support that we get, rightfully so. I think because we provide a high level of service and people appreciate that. But I don't think the average citizen understands the risk that firefighters take on a daily basis throughout the nation.
And I mean, again, you were talking about the need to know about drugs, which has become such a big thing. Now, I'm assuming, I shouldn't assume like that you're not going to run into as much of that problem in the woods as other places. But that is, I mean, as I said, my ex-brother-in-law in Vegas, the calls they went on with drug overdoses and so on was just pathetic.
Well, we're a regional fire department, so we cover from Seal Beach. The Orange County Fire Authority covers from Seal Beach all the way down to San Clemente, all the way up to Silverado Canyon and Yorba Linda. We pretty much cover that entire area minus a handful of cities.
So you run into it all?
So we run it all, yeah. We're all risk. We do wildland, we do structure, hazmat, USAR, high-rise, airport, you name it, we do. So,
and with the California wildfires that we've had, where I'm sure they're calling firemen from every area to come up and put those out, that to me is so frightening I don't even want to think about what you guys have to do with that. You know, and how to fight those, and how to, you know, start a fire that burns toward it and all that kind of stuff. I don't understand it. But that's another whole animal in itself.
100%, and that's exactly where, remember we were talking on the phone, and I was in the Silverado station in Silverado Canyon, where we had 2 near fatality members that get burned over from a wildland fire. And so when we talk about training, that's as firefighters, we have to be proficient in truck company operations, which does the ventilation for the buildings. We have to be proficient in engine company operations, which is running mostly EMS runs and then putting water on the fire, right? And then we have to be proficient in wildland operations, which is like going in urban interface and fighting vegetation fires. So in order to stay proficient in all that's just your basic firefighter, fire captain. You have to handle those 3 major areas. Now if you get more into the specifics of hazmat or USAR or air operations or anything else, now that's extra training. So that's what we do on a daily, monthly, weekly, annual basis, is we stay up to par on all the different specialties that we have to focus on. And part of that is managing as a company officer, we have to manage our time, right? Between running calls, cooking, getting our members rest, food, and then training.
The other thing that you mentioned, we talked on the phone about the importance of the health, the checkups you have with different, health issues that you have. Because of your exposure to certain things, you have a tendency to get certain types of illnesses, and so therefore you are checked for those at regular times. That's part of it isn't a choice. It's just something that they do for everyone.
Well, it is a choice, and I think Greg can talk about this a little bit better since he's been here longer than I have. But the organization or local has done a lot to make sure that we have 5-year or annual screens depending on your exposure. So what was it like when you first got hired? They didn't have Body Scan International or
I think Body Scan started not too long after I had started here, but the WeFit thing really kind of kicked up in the last 10 years. It's been really, really proactive. We're really proactive, really good about cancer screening, cancer prevention, cancer awareness. We're just more aware about all the stuff that can kill us. More so now. I mean, they're probably not much different in terms of how many things can hurt us, but we're just way more aware of them now.
And to be able to do something proactive instead of wait till it's too late.
And also just, doing the things you can control, which is, try to eat a healthy diet, right? What you put in your body is, that's the best fuel and medicine for our bodies, is what we eat, right? That's the best medicine.
And the way you stay fit.
Yeah, we try to here. It's a little harder here because we're so busy.
Well, yeah, and it's,
I'm surprised we haven't got a call yet, actually, but we're very much more proactive. We're more mindful about the things that can hurt us. We can't eliminate those entirely, but we can try to reduce them and mitigate them as much as we can.
Yeah.
The engines are way cleaner. Like these new engines here they run so clean. They're amazing actually. Compared to the old stuff, we used to have some engines. The second you fired that thing, about big black plume of smoke would come out of the thing. And you're like, that's what we're being, exposed to every time that thing turns on. That would be, exposing to us.
Exactly.
And those are known carcinogens.
So
known-
do you do any of that automotive mechanical? Where do you take those to make sure it's all done?
Yeah,
or
we
is
have a
that
full
done?
automotive department that handles all the maintenance.
Those
and
are our
servicing.
heroes, those
Yeah.
mechanics.
That's the true backbone of this fire service is our service center that helps support us, and then our automotive, because we wouldn't be able to call us if we can't start our
Those
engine.
things,
Yeah.
they're so complicated now too. They're full of electronics. They're like walking computers,
Mm-hmm.
So we can't really do much to them. So the mechanics are overworked. They're so understaffed right now.
Oh, now do
So-
they have to have special? Are they just mechanics that are good mechanics?
They're diesel mechanics. They're heavy equipment like
equipment
diesel
mechanics, yeah.
diesel mechanics.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's at our headquarters in Irvine. That's
But
where
they
we
come here.
handle-
They'll come to the stations
Mhm.
and fix on site, or if we can't, then
How
if
do
they
people
can't.
even become aware of the fact that there's a need for diesel mechanics?
We fly flyers, so we'll advertise that hey, we're recruiting
Okay.
mechanics, dispatchers, firefighters. It's an ongoing process of trying to hire people.
I mean, if people love working, is that right?
That's for you probably. You're the mayor, right?
Enough, yeah.
Yeah.
But again, that if you've got somebody that loves tinkering around in those, and they do it for little or nothing at Just Tires or someplace, to know that, hey, if you really want to make this a career, because it's
Oh, yeah.
so necessary and people depend on it, to let them know that. In fact, I have a mobile mechanic. I need to talk to him. I miss him. He just stopped doing it. But he'd come to my house
Yeah.
and fix my car and change my brakes and everything. But I have to talk to him.
I was exposed to that stuff in high school. That's when I started doing,
Yeah.
hands-on
Yeah.
mechanical stuff, wood shop, metal shop.
Hmm. I don't think they
automotive
offer
shop.
half of that stuff anymore.
Most high schools, they've gotten rid of a lot of
Don't.
that. It's that's the saddest thing to me is
Well,
we've
it's-
got rid of the trades
Yes,
in the early
exactly.
years for these kids to be exposed to it to see if
Mhm.
something they can do.
Because, yeah, they find out they really have a knack for it.
And you can make
it's
really
a
good money
trade.
doing that nowadays. Really good money.
Yeah. Ironically, the supply side of the service-based industry is diminishing rapidly. So it's actually a huge demand for welders, fabricators, framers, electricians, plumbers, all the
Yes,
trades.
all those things that, and if they had them in school, they would get a taste of it to
Sure.
say,
But once
you
the
know what,
funding
I
went
really
away
like
for them, they
this.
pull the funding. There's no money for it to support.
I don't know
these-
what
these
they're
programs.
teaching in school because they've taken away the arts, they've taken away the trades. I
But
don't
we
know.
can talk about what they're not
We can-
teaching them.
yes, we
That's
can
for sure.
definitely
That'd probably be a
find
little bit
that
easier.
It's too bad.
Well, I can't even tell you how much, I could sit here for days, and of course I can't do that because you guys are gonna be on a call again. But I did wanna ask you, because my sister, who knows you guys pretty much, she just said, make sure you ask them, if you guys wanna thank them, just say, do you like pies, cookies, or bars?
Yes.
Well, I brought bars today, but I should have brought brownies, those are my favorite, or chocolate chip cookies. I will not bring donuts, I don't care for donuts. But you can get those on your own.
We see enough donuts around here.
I figured that. So, anyway, thank you so
Thank
much
you.
again.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
we got to see a lot of the house, the big house. I like the fact that you've got that up. And just the beautiful things. And again,
That's some of those things on the wall. Those
It
are really
really
old right
is.
there. Those are original artwork. On the wall.
oh, wow. Yeah. Well, and see the
That's before the bankruptcy. It's Orco Fire Department. We're not fire department. We're Orange County Fire Authority. So that's pre-bankruptcy right there. That's
Wow.
probably from the 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a way we can deliver a message for like a safety message as far as everyone in
Oh, yes.
Laguna Woods? So a couple things that we oftentimes will respond to people's houses, right? And maybe they're sick and they can't answer some questions, or maybe they're having a major medical emergency. The best thing you can do is provide like medical history, list of allergies, and a list of medications, and put it somewhere on the fridge or where your medications are. And that just helps us. If there's nobody to go to and we can't, and that you're not able to answer questions, it gives us a running start to like figure out what the baseline,
Right.
problems would be. If you have like a key on file with security, would be great. That way we don't have to damage any of your personal property. If sometimes the person will fall and they'll be stuck in the back bedroom, they just need help up. But they've locked their door and they secured the windows like most people do. Like we have no other way in unless. So in order to limit property damage, if you have some type of spare key, and then tell us where it is, and we can put it on file so that when we get a call for their residence, it'll come up in our notes.
Yeah. And I mentioned that to Sean earlier because the lady across the street, you guys were there, and the ambulance was there, and I was being nosy looking out my window, and I saw them taking off the screen. And I thought, well, that's odd. So the next day, the security was there, and I said, why did they have to do that? And he said she had not left a key at security, so you guys couldn't get in.
Yeah.
Which, again, when you get a call, that if, the call security saying, hey, we're on our way to this place, meet us there with a key. The other thing is about putting something on the refrigerator. My girlfriend said her mom was, at home, but really getting quite old, and she had a caretaker there, but she had put DNR on the refrigerator, and the firemen, when they came, they said, we can't thank you enough for that.
Yeah. So that would be the biggest thing that will help us get a running start to help you, help everyone in Laguna Woods.
Appreciate.
So we got a call. We got to
Yes.
go. We're out of here.
It's been wonderful.
Great to meet you. What's
Thank
your
you,
name again?
CJ.
too. My name is CJ.
Thank you, CJ.
Or Constance, whatever.
CJ, thank you.
We'll see you.
Thank you.
You can talk
Craig,
to
right?
Scott.
Welcome to CJ's Chat Box. Today I'm very privileged to welcome Amay
Thank you.
Roberts, and she is the new director at Florence Sylvester Senior Center. So, as I normally do, I want to know more about you and how you got there. So, tell me a little bit about where you're from and where you grew up.
I grew up in Indiana, so I am a Midwest girl, and I made my way to California it took me about 10 years after I graduated from college. So I've lived in Texas, Minnesota, Northern California, and all over Southern California.
Well, you've hit the highlights because you were in Minnesota. I mean, that really counts because that's where I'm from. And I know how cold it is there. Thankfully, you got out to California. And 10 years, that's a long time to be bouncing around. And I know you said that in high school, you were quite a serious student and very involved, I believe, in debate.
That's right. I actually got a scholarship for my undergraduate degree to go to school on a debate scholarship.
Wow.
Yes.
So you know how to really argue with people, and you got the grounds for it. Because that to me was, you have to do so much research, and you said you really liked that.
I really love it. I think it's super important to understand your resources and where to look for them and just evaluate the information that's coming in.
Well, to be grounded because you know what you know, and if you've done your homework and your research, then when you're doing a debate, I would think that you can be as confident and as firm and as loud as you need to be in order to get your point across. So that's kind of, again, that was an interesting part to hear. But then when you kind of wanted to be a doctor and then you were going to be a lawyer, and so you kind of were back and forth there, but something brought you to Texas, I think.
That's right. So after college, I got an internship with a pro bono asylum project in South Texas. So it was run by UT Law, and I got to work firsthand with people that were seeking asylum in the United States. They were coming from all over the world.
Yes. Well, and we talked a bit about the fact that seeking asylum is one whole different ball of wax compared to what is happening for you right now. But the fact that you were involved in that and were really hearing people's plight and wanting to really be of service to help them, especially in a pro bono, as you said, asylum, that is really something that you gravitated toward, I believe.
That's right. It was not near as political as it is now, but most people who are seeking asylum, even then, they come here with just the shirts on their backs. No matter where they're from, they're usually fleeing, a horrible situation, and this is the last hope for their life.
Wow.
So those are the kinds of people that we were talking to and verifying their stories and helping get all the materials together for attorneys.
And also, again, getting their stories together because, again, you'd have to vet them and research them, which, again, that was like, I've done this before. I know how to go about that. The other part that interested me was the fact that you did travel. I don't think you worked in Central America, but you did a bit of traveling there. Is that right?
I did. So when I was getting my bachelor's degree, I lived in the international unit my last year. And I met people from everywhere because of that. And so after that internship, I was able to travel all through Central America and a little bit in South America. And, it's kind of hopping at that age, you're not getting
Yes.
hotel rooms at the Ritz, right?
No.
You're hopping around with anybody that you knew in college, and
Yeah.
just trying to see what there is to see, something different.
That to me would be like an education in itself, that you're young, not married at that time, and being able to hop around and sleeping on a couch if you needed to. Those are the growing up years, but also that's a taste of what the world is like. So I think that was really adventuresome for you, but oh my goodness, how much that educated you, I'm sure.
It was an eye-opener, and at the time you don't realize it because you don't have the context of, being an adult and kind of being independent that, I do now. But you really get a look into lives that are different than American lives, different with all the resources that we have here and just the opportunity that we have here. I'm sure it means different things to different people, but for me, it really enhanced the empathy that I have for people that do not have what I have, and
Appreciate our freedoms a little bit more.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, and
Yeah.
I forever will want to help the underdog.
Yes, well, that's part of who you are as well, I do believe. But then we're going to switch gears just a little bit, because somehow you ended up in Northern California in the wine business, or working at a winery. Please tell me about that.
I know that sounds like a hard right, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, like. Well, I won a trip to California, and I had never been here before. It was for selling the most wine I worked for Morton's of Chicago at the time.
Oh, okay.
So it was an all expense paid trip to Napa and Sonoma.
Wow.
It knocked my socks off.
I would say.
I realized it, but I didn't realize I was being wined and dined. In my mind, I'm like, this is how all Californians live all
What
the
a
time.
rude awakening.
Cheese, breakfast, it was absolutely amazing, but I knew I had to be here. California is just so gorgeous, and
That was the
there's
taste.
just so much here.
What brought you then to Southern California?
I came to Southern California. My sister was living here. I hadn't really been to Southern California before I came to visit her, and it was just bright and sunny, and I had been in San Francisco for years, and I just thought it was rejuvenating for my spirit, and I had the opportunity to come and stay with her, and was able to transfer with my job down here, and the rest was history. So.
But again, I am excited about your new position there at Florence Sylvester Senior Center and the things that you're doing there. How did you end up getting into there? Did you start out at one place and ended up becoming the director? Or?
No, actually. I was kind of firming up some of my classes to apply to a master's entry program in nursing at UCI. Okay. And in the meantime, I was tutoring nursing students at Saddleback College. And for a project I was working on personally, I volunteered for the Meals on Wheels program in Laguna Niguel.
Okay.
So I met the director there, and over time we got to know each other, and she recommended me for this position, and this was not in my plans at all. But what I realized after I had the first meeting is that the things that Age Well does, they're the same things that I wanted to do. I just had a different path to get there. And we just hit it off. And it's really been a dream since then. Like it's just, I meet so many amazing people.
Yes,
with this
I would
position.
think that there's definitely a lot of different people here from all different walks of life and ethnicities and so on. I guess one of the things that also kind of surprised me, because I know that the center has been there for a long time, and yet it is connected but not connected to the village. But when I went in there to speak with you, I saw a calendar there, and I had also seen it advertised at the Globe. I went, wow! They always tell us what's at the clubhouses, but now there's also showing what's at the Florence Sylvester Center, and I gather that that's something that you've brought new to the center. Some of these new activities and fundraisers and so on, that's some of your, again, creative doing. Is that correct?
Yes.
Oh, good.
It is. So a little under 90% of the people that we serve are from the village. So it only makes sense, that the activities that we offer that everyone in the village should know about, because that's really who's coming in.
Right.
Whether it's for ballroom dancing or they're on a nutrition program like Meals on Wheels, most of the people are in the village.
Well, that's great. But I
yeah.
saw in the Globe you had some, was this a fundraiser, your speakeasy that was so popular?
Yes, that was in the Globe. That was the first time we've done that. We started because we were able to get the granddaughter of a very famous silent film star to come in and speak and bring a film. And then we realized, wait, there's a huge opportunity here to sort of, make a fun night of it, build a bunch of activities around that. So that's what we did. And it was really fun.
And I think you're younger, and I think that you're realizing that the age in the village is getting to be a lot younger because it's the best buy in town, for one thing, but that you thought, I want to serve people from 62 to 92, and trying to find things that will work for both, that's kept you open to ideas. And I think some of the clubs even have, I think you have something coming up. Is it a wine tasting or something that's coming up soon? Or
Well, we have a wine tasting every month.
Every month.
But yes, but we have a project that we're working on with the Boomers Club. And that's our Casino Royale Poker Night.
That's what it
coming
is.
up.
Oh,
Yeah.
And again, the new adventures and things that you're taking on, and again, the cooperation with some of the other clubs, seeing that what it is you're doing and wanting to be of help there. To me, that's just great cooperation. And as I said, people are now becoming more aware of what things are offered, as you said, at the senior center, that things have changed a great deal. And you're adding more things all the time because you're very open and innovative to doing that. So I'm sure the people that do come in are excited about working with you and seeing you there and all the things that you do.
I hope so. It seems to be that way. One of the philosophies that I've tried to bring to the table is that 62 is very different than 92. And the wants, the needs, the things that we do for fun, they're just different at different ages. And to assume that it's the same thing would be like assuming a 22-year-old and a 52-year-old have the same interest.
Oh, exactly.
They just don't.
No.
So I'm not really cutting anything out that we've always done, but I'm trying to, bring in all kinds of fresh, fun things to the center, and hopefully there's a little something for everyone.
Yeah. And working with the boomers, because
Yes.
again, that's a good age that they are very much aware they do things a little bit differently, that you haven't taken out anything, you've kept the ones that the people are used to doing and like. And I know that you said that one of the things that you did have to stop really was the mahjong.
Yes.
The mahjong was so popular that it filled the rooms and you weren't able to do some of the other activities. So that was tough to handle. But we've got clubhouses. I'm assuming that those people could also come and play at some of the clubhouses here. But
that was a huge bummer. There were a lot of people that really loved to come for that. And in fact, maybe that's one of the reasons why we can't do it any longer. It required such a big space for such a long time. We only have one room that would accommodate that.
Wow.
And so if we were to have any other programming going on, we just couldn't do it at the same time. So
you're courageous as well, meaning that you know when you have to say no to something and yes to something else. That's important. And you've done it with such grace, because I think everybody's happy for what you're doing there. It does seem to be busy. The few times I went there to sign up for some classes for the Saddleback Emeritus, so that's when I started seeing things were a little bit different. And yeah, you have a very interesting, and that bulletin board in the hallway of all those vets, I think that was so exciting for me. And I've already put the word out to you about if you run across someone that would really like to talk about their lives, because there's so many interesting people here in the village, and I'm sure you bump into them every day there at the center. So
absolutely.
I thank you so much for coming and talking with us and telling us about the new look and about the new person there, such as yourself. So thank you again.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
It was great. Thank you, Amy.